November 8th couldn't come soon enough. It's here, it's here, it's here, it's here. Opening kickoff Thursday night. We get a rematch of the Super Bowl. Everything's happening all at once. It's a little overwhelming. I'm pretty excited. I think I overate, and I had too many beers to kick this off. Joined tonight, Joey Peeps and Matt, the Stat Master, both here. What's happening, boys?
Nothing like it. We're glad it's here. It's finally here. This is Christmas for grown men right here, and it's here. Thank God. It always seems like NBA season is 365 days a year. It seems like football doesn't come soon enough. We're happy it's here. Thank God.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. It's it's been a long time coming. I feel like we've been talking about this for, well, however many months. Was it 9 months? Not even.
It's been a while, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long damn time.
It feels like 12, but...
It does. It feels like forever. Hopefully that we have a nice, long, safe, not injury-riddled season, and we get a lot of good football between college and the NFL. They're starting off the right way. I love that the schedule worked out to where the AFC West played the NFC South, and you have a Super Bowl rematch on opening night. I love that was able to happen. It's a great way to get started. I know that the teams look a little bit different, but not well. There's a couple glaring differences, but for the most part, we're getting a nice little rematch.
Well, it's a glaring Trevor Siemian, that's for sure.
You bring up a good point. I know the NFL is advertising this as a big Super Bowl rematch, but to me, it's not that interesting.
Really?
I would have rather seen maybe the Broncos, Colts, Broncos, Chiefs, Broncos, Steelers, something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
Definitely not.
Because I know you have to start off with the Broncos. Ideally, the Broncos aren't that interesting to me this year, just because you have that Trevor Siemian.
Yeah, I guess it brings us. I mean, and it's a good segue. It brings us right into what we want to talk about is the pregame show tonight. It brings us right into the world of the Super Bowl hangover in a little segment that we've gone ahead and deemed. Is that a real thing?
You know what's good about Trevor Siemian, though? If he can't play quarterback, one thing is good. If the guy goes down or has some sort of medical issue during this game, I mean, Northwestern is a great medical school, well documented. He probably could help him out. So if anything, Trevor Siemian might be good for. I mean, I don't know if he can play quarterback. No one does, but 7th round draft pick out of Northwestern. I mean, I think I'd rather have him giving me a physical rather than being my fantasy football quarterback. I could tell you that much.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a fantasy choice under any circumstance whatsoever. But you've got to give the guy a shot. I think about 5 short weeks ago we were discussing this, maybe 4 short weeks ago, after the first preseason weekend, when I watched Sanchez function in Gary Kubiak's offense, which was really, really shades of the Houston Texans years ago with Schaub and Kubiak when they started to roll out, move the tight end up the field a little bit in the zone blocking scheme. You watched a little bit of that come together in Denver, and I saw Sanchez look good, and then do what Sanchez does and then make a bad decision. And we had the discussion on air that whomever makes the fewest mistakes at this position should have that starting job, and it turned out it's Trevor Siemian. Paxton Lynch isn't ready yet. Siemian gets his first start. This is the first time in the history of the Super Bowl era that a Super Bowl winning team returns the following season and starts a player who has never had a snap in the NFL.
Well, I think that's more of a testament of the Denver Broncos are saying that our defense is just that good. We got there. We won a Super Bowl with Brock Osweiler, an guy who also had never really taken a snap other than when Peyton Manning wasn't able to play. And then you had Peyton Manning, who was completely broken down last year, and we still won a Super Bowl championship. So let's just throw this kid. Maybe he's a smart kid, obviously, with the Northwestern. So
Sure.
Maybe he can run this offense. He can grasp the whole ideal. He not make mistakes, and our defense can just carry us once again. I think that's the ideology right there.
I agree.
I don't disagree. I think that they will run the ball or at least try to establish the run. Little clock control, little control of keeping the ball out of Cam Newton's hands. Just as far as tonight goes, I think what you were just commenting on is more of a bigger picture going down throughout the season. But the idea tonight is stop Cam. I got to think that you take a second to appreciate how difficult it is for a team to open up in Denver on a, I don't know if you can call it a short week because it's the first night of the season, but it's Thursday night. I don't know, Matt. The Thursday night open up in Denver. That's a cross-country trip for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
It's pressure.
Sure it is. And let's not forget what Denver's defense did to the seemingly immortal Cam Newton was the 15-1 Carolina indestructible Panthers that were until they met that Denver Broncos defense in the Super Bowl. And don't think for a minute that all eyes aren't going to be on Cam Newton, especially after the way he walked away from the press conference, everything that followed away after that. All eyes are going to be on this kid tonight, and he's got to perform.
Yeah, I agree totally. Also, you got to think what's going through the Panthers' head when they put that championship banner up in front of the whole crowd. Everyone's going nuts.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's all psychological because, that does make it more interesting when I think about it. That the opposing team's never been in the stadium when you've let that banner go down on the first night of the NFL calendar.
That beat them, sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
The opposing team's never been there.
And it's not that the Denver Broncos just went in there and beat Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers. They beat him down. They were all over him. They beat him up. And this is something that you did not see all year long. You never saw anybody do that to Cam Newton. And, just the way they threw him to the ground, they were all in his face. They beat him up. I mean, Cam Newton was literally running over defenses all year long last year. And basically looked him, not to say not immortal. He's not Perseus, but, he was the football term of looked indestructible. Like he was just running over everybody. Nobody could mess with him. And then Denver just completely shattered, basically Buster Douglas, that whole aura of invincibility that they had, that swagger coming into the game.
Yeah, they did. They whipped up on him pretty good. I do think that this is a different Denver defense with a lot of similarities. I mean, they didn't lose too much. Your big thumper, T.J. Ward, is still sitting back there. You have is Talib suspended before I say he's on the field tonight? I don't know why I would think he'd be suspended. I mean, that's so odd.
I know he had that injury.
It's so weird.
That's stemming from what he could be. Remember the gunshot incident? So
yeah, that's what I'm probably thinking about.
Yeah.
So maybe he is suspended. That's
just a flesh wound. Just a flesh wound.
That is something we should have one
meaty part of the thigh.
Yeah.
No arteries.
On the field tonight, that's all the difference. I don't know if he is or not. Yeah. Chris Harris on the other side will be on Kelvin Benjamin in all likelihood. Ted Ginn can still run, and Ted Ginn had 10 touchdowns last year. I do think that playing in Denver, altitude, it's an evening game there. Those things do affect teams. Does it affect a team that could potentially be walking into a Super Bowl hangover? And if they are, this is a really good way to start that hangover season, is to go on the road opening night and get beat by the same team who put you where you are.
You asked that question, does that Super Bowl hangover exist? I'm gonna lean towards no, being the fact that the New England Patriots going into last year were the defending Super Bowl champions, and if you guys remember correctly, Tom Brady came out and fired on all cylinders last year. He was even, if you remember, going into the midway part of the year, he was your front runner before Cam Newton came on. He was your front runner for league MVP through like the first 5-6 weeks of the season.
Yeah, he was.
And Seattle had no Super Bowl hangover the year before that, and I think that's a myth.
Isn't Tom? Well, okay, no, it's a great argument for it. But isn't Tom Brady just the exception and not the rule?
Yeah, I agree. Especially he was dealing with all the Deflategate issues, so he came out fired up because of that.
Yeah, he's just
a chip on his shoulder.
He's just the best.
Great, you're right.
He's the last guy you want on the field with a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. And that's also a good point. But I'm trying to think back and remember the last team that won the Super Bowl and really just came out not the same, as just kind of flat.
In 2003, the Bucs came out after that win, and they I think they beat Philadelphia 17-0 that night.
They actually trounced them, if I remember correctly. They trounced them that first week, and then they kind of fell back to earth.
Well, then they did, but they beat them. It was like 17-0, but it was a real dominant defensive game, and I think Warren Sapp may have caught a touchdown from the tight end position, if memory serves, which it's vivid because I remember hoping Tampa would just get spanked that night. It never happened. But that's one thing. But then they, like you said,
hopefully Warren Sapp can catch a loan from the bank these days.
You had
low blow.
You had the Giants a couple times after these big emotional wins, kind of sink back into their place, and then come back and do it again a few years later. Matt, you go ahead. I got some thoughts.
The team that sticks out to me is the Ravens from 2000. 12, so their 2013 season.
Sure.
I think they crashed and burned. Not actually crashed and burned, but didn't have that great year that you're expecting out of a Super Bowl champion.
Well, I do remember. That is a good point, Matt, because I do remember that they actually, because of I think it was because of the Orioles had a game and they share parking with the stadiums for some weird reason that the Super Bowl champion couldn't end up, so they actually had to go to Denver for their first week and open up as Super Bowl champions on the road.
Yeah.
And that's when Peyton Manning tossed 7 touchdown passes on them.
Good memory.
Yep. I do remember that. Good point. Way to bring that up. That's good.
That was good.
Yep. 7. Peyton Manning did throw, if I recall, 7 touchdown passes on them.
Great. That was a beginning to his great year.
That's right.
It
was. I think that if you had Peyton on a fantasy team that night and you were watching that was your whole season just got really big and bright. That's pretty awesome. How much does Denver miss Peyton Manning?
No, I don't think too much.
Leadership is always something in a locker room that is very overrated.
I don't think so at all.
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Underrated. What I meant to say. I think it's very underrated. I think Peyton Manning did bring something to that locker room that you saw this guy, you saw his credentials, where he's been, the amount of work that no matter what, he's coming in. Even probably when he's hurt and he's not playing that Sunday, he's still going to be the first one in that film room. He's going to be there. That resonates. It really does. It has to.
On how to practice, how to work. He's at a level of excellence that, it's a different thing. You've got to have players that do that. I'm trying to piece this thought together here with, Carolina, the road favorite tonight. They're going into Denver. They are a 3-point favorite. Back in, I want to say August, early August, late July, Denver was a 2-point favorite in this game.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a 2-point favorite with Mark Sanchez, and now they're a 3-point dog at home.
That is such junk to even have that spread up at that point. Such junk.
It is. Yeah. It is, but you and I know that that's where you can use your money to make smart money. It would be awful nice to have Carolina +2 tonight, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah.
That's a nice play to have a road dog that's actually the road favorite. That's a really nice play.
I don't know which play is good, because I just think that this game is just, I think they're telling you how even this matchup is. We just don't know yet. Trevor Siemian, I'm not saying this is going to happen. Don't think I'm predicting this by any means, but who knows? This kid, they might see. John Elway he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, arguably one of the greatest ever, if not the greatest, depending on who you talk to.
Who cares? He's not playing tonight.
But he probably knows how to evaluate the quarterback position, though, and knows what somebody can do. And if for some reason or another this kid is starting over a guy like Mark Sanchez, who everyone knows that he's not elite or anything like that, but he is a veteran in this league, and this kid's never even taken a snap. Why is that? Why is he starting over him?
I think I know the answer why. What John was thinking. He saw what happened last year with a dominant defense like that. If you get a quarterback and just limit the mistakes, you can have a Super Bowl winning team with that defense, behind that defense.
Exactly it.
And
I think I said that earlier. He is. Yeah, you're right. He's a smart kid. He went to Northwestern and all that, and he probably can run the offense. And
so you're
right.
Better than Mark Sanchez.
But let's say that you've got this game tonight with a rookie quarterback starting. Who's winning the game? Let me go in the round circle here and get
winning
some.
Yeah.
Give me